So, now the Gestapo are calling themselves public health officials. The name is the only discernible difference. They can come to your home, and if they see a child playing in the garden or riding a bicycle up and down your road, they can take the child away to be tested, assessed and isolated. The parents don't need to be there. Their permission is not required. Their child can be legally kidnapped and removed if the public health official thinks they might, note the word might, be infected. It's the same for us all, of course. We're living in a totalitarian world. Boris Johnson, who's been playing a pantomime buffoon for years, has led a coup that should eventually land him and his war criminal colleagues in prison. We have a truly evil government. They aren't removing the last vestiges of our freedom for our benefit. The disease against which this is directed is becoming less of a problem as each day goes by. I seem to have been saying it forever, but this was never more deadly than the flu. Johnson and co. aren't actually lining us to be shot if we fail their stupid test, but maybe that'll be next. Nothing now seems impossible. And all this, remember, is happening as the infection becomes ever less of a threat. All around the world, deaths from all causes are now lower than average for the time of year. And more doctors are actually finding the courage to speak out and tell the truth. One doctor's even offered $5,000 to anyone who can produce evidence that the damned virus actually exists. I don't know how much Johnson and his cabinet know about the plan to take over the world, but I suspect they don't know all that much. I wonder if there's anyone in the UK cabinet important enough to be allowed into the cabal with which the United Nations is planning a world takeover. Still, that doesn't alter the fact that this latest piece of trickery is pure, unadulterated evil, and the rest of the House of Commons might as well not exist. I haven't heard many MPs protesting about human rights, freedom and democracy. As long as they get their fat salaries and their expenses, they don't give a damn about us. You wouldn't think MPs worked for us, would you? Have you noticed how so few of our so-called leaders have any statesman-like qualities? They all look as if they were put together in the dark and in a hurry by someone who couldn't understand the instructions because they were written in Japanese. Having us kidnapped and dragged off to secret locations for no good reason isn't Comrade Boris's only new innovation. It seems that bonking Boris has now gone completely barking, for he is apparently going to insist that we all wear masks whenever he tells us to. I suspect that Comrade Sturgeon is as potty as a damp kilt, but Boris is now thinking of following her mad example north of the border in Scotland and making face masks compulsory in shops and wherever else he fancies. Boris, like Sturgeon, appears to be following the revised advice given by the World Health Organization, I've lost track, now seemingly majority owned by the Mara Hindley and Ian Brady Foundation. Sorry, that was a simple mistake to make. I meant, of course, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. There is, let me remind you, no unequivocal evidence that masks help prevent the spread of anything other than bits of food from messy eaters. But there is evidence that they kill. And there's evidence that if you wear one for a while, your blood oxygen levels are likely to fall to a dangerously low level. The only other explanation for this piece of official lunacy is that our government, like many governments around the world, wants us dead. The people who give in and wear masks are not only simple-minded, but they are clearly suicidal. The hypoxia that masks cause can be deadly. Everything seems to be getting madder by the day. If this were not a plot to deprive us of every morsel of our independence and our freedom, the government in the UK would now be arresting the idiots who produced and promoted the lunatic predictions which led to the lockdowns and the social distancing. Professor Ferguson, like bats and seagulls, appears to be a member of a protected species. Why hasn't he been arrested for producing the most egregiously incorrect forecast in the history of forecasts? And why haven't all the government's advisors been sacked and thrown into the Tower of London? Everywhere I look, there is more madness. Not content with attempting to do away with cash, there is now talk that they want to get rid of credit cards and debit cards, so that everything we purchase goes through an app on our phone. I know the red fascists will applaud this, and I'm sure the entire staff of the BBC will be on their feet applauding, but they don't count as human beings. The government has generously opened the pubs, though there was never any reason to shut them, but they made it impossible for owners to make a profit or for punters to have any fun. So the pubs will slowly close, and the government can say it's not their fault, because they tried. And then there's the social distancing. Instead of playing Simon Says, we're now all playing Boris Says, but this is now no party game. It's clear that social distancing was developed by the CIA as a form of torture, and it's known that it causes depression, poor sleep, impaired brain function, reduced immunity to infection, poor heart function, and so on and on and on. Following social distancing rules is said to double the risk of death and to be equivalent to being obese, smoking 15 fags a day and being an alcoholic. Children who are forced to follow social distancing rules will grow up severely damaged. They will never recover. And yet children are far more at risk of injury or death by travelling to school than because of the coronavirus. The CDC in America reckons that the COVID-19 risk to those under the age of 19 is as near as damn it to zero. No child has passed the coronavirus to an adult. Asymptomatic individuals don't seem to pass on the infection, even if they have it. There was never any need to close schools or to introduce any social distancing nonsense. Why the hell are teachers demanding daft and destructive rules for children? In my view, any teacher who refuses to go to work until social distancing is introduced should be fired. When social distancing was first widely introduced about 70 years ago, it was regarded as the ideal way to break down prisoners. It caused more damage than beating them or starving them. Prisoners of war have said that they felt that social distancing and isolation were as bad as any physical abuse. There's no doubt that social distancing is a cruel and inhuman thing to do. Indeed, it's a war crime. And where did they get the 6 feet distancing from? Out of somebody's head, apparently. Allegedly, mad scientists felt that the British people wouldn't know what 1 metre was, and so they doubled it just for fun, from 1 metre to 2 metres, which is 6 foot 6 inches. And the sick joke is that social distancing actually increases the spread of illness. And social distancing in schools is a form of child abuse. Because of masks and social distancing, we'll never acquire immunity to disease. Our immune systems will deteriorate, and we'll never acquire herd immunity. By the way, forget what I said about school teachers just being sacked. That's not enough. They should be arrested and tried for child abuse if they insist on social distancing in schools. The government's advisors in the UK keep saying that we can't stop social distancing. They don't say why. But my fear is that the government's just keeping people terrified until the damn vaccine is ready. The UK government has already ordered 65 million syringes and needles, and one drug company is already making a vaccine that hasn't yet been properly tested. Remember that Vallance, the chief scientific advisor to the UK government, used to work for GlaxoSmithKline, a big vaccine manufacturer, and that Dr. Whitty, the chief medical officer in the UK, did research that was funded by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. In my view, both of them should be fired for having a potential conflict of interest. Incidentally, I see that Mr. Gates, the self-appointed doctor to the world, has allegedly said that singing, laughing and talking can all spread COVID-19. I hesitate to suggest this, but maybe Mr. Gates should stop talking for a few years so that we might all be safer. Meanwhile, we're now living in an occupied country. Everyone not already a member needs to join the resistance movement. If the public health officials come for you, don't resist with violence, of course, but I suggest that you film everything, or ask someone to film everything, Then send the film to as many people as you know and write down details, including names and times. And tell the official that you will sue them personally for kidnapping you. When they tell you that they're immune because they're acting for the state, remind them that at the end of World War II, that was not considered an acceptable defence at the war crimes tribunals. Thank you for watching An Old Man in a Chair, and thank you for all your support and encouragement. Please copy and share the videos on Twitter, Facebook, BitChute and wherever else. If you'd like to put on a translation, that would be great. If my videos disappear, please go to my website, www.vernoncoleman.com, to find out where you can see them, or at least to read the transcripts. The transcripts of the banned ones are all on my website too. This channel hasn't been monetized, I haven't authorized any advertising, and there is no sponsorship. If you'd like to see more videos from me, please subscribe to my channel, because the videos aren't always easy to find. If you visit mainstream media, please put on a note asking people to visit the Vernon Coleman channel on YouTube. Although it may feel like it at times, please remember you're not on your own. More and more people are waking up, and together we will win this fight. And remember, distrust the government, avoid mass media, fight the lies. Thank you for watching.